Ladies and gentlemen, hey hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Something I like to do every time a brand new season goes live is break down all the best weapons to use for that season. And since Season 3 is the first season that we've seen launch for Warzone, today we're going to break down the top 10 best loadouts to use after the 1.19 and Season 3 update. So if you enjoy the video at any point, or if you just find it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you are new to the channel, I am always covering the latest Call of Duty news, intel, updates, class setups, and really everything in between, so feel free to subscribe to stay up to date with all of that. Now, the primaries for these loadouts are obviously going to be the big focus, right? And I believe we've got 3 different secondaries between all the classes today, and honestly, those can just be swapped out for your preference in each class, and for the most part, they're going to do just fine. So just keep that in mind as we are moving through these. So getting into the first loadout, we've got what I consider to be the single best SMG in all of Warzone, and that is none other than the MP7. We have featured this class a few times in the past, and honestly, even after Season 3, this is still, without a doubt, one of the best classes to use in-game. It's perfect for close-range fights because the MP7 is a very consistent SMG as is. However, it also has a ridiculously good range. I mean, you guys will see in the gameplay in the background, I'm shredding through armor and health in basically every gunfight I get into. So on it, I am using the monolithic suppressor. As always, this is going to keep me off the radar, it's going to extend the range, and really it's just a super crucial attachment to have. I've also got the recon barrel to cap out the range, the tac laser to increase the ADS speed, the Merc foregrip. However, the Commando foregrip could also work well for some more long-range fights. And finally, the 60-round mags, as that's going to help with squad engagements or just cleaning up downed enemies without having to worry about reloading. Then, for my secondary here, since this class is a little more rush-heavy, I like to roll with the RPG, as this is going to be an absolute phenom when it comes to striking fear into the enemies. Just because, no one is going to rush a guy with an RPG. It's just not smart, and this is going to be great for breaking up squads, or ruining revives, or just countering vehicles in general. But that's not to say you couldn't use either of the other secondaries that we'll be breaking down later on into the video. Now, outside of that, my perks pretty much stay the same on all of my classes, and those are Cold-Blooded, Ghost, and personally I like to use Tracker so I can see footsteps. However, on some setups, as you'll see, I do use Overkill to get 2 primaries, and on those classes, it can be worth it to run Amped instead of Tracker. Then I do also use C4 and the heartbeat sensor as well to round out the class. And as mentioned, that all stays the same on pretty much all of my classes, with obviously the exception of Overkill and Amped. So we won't repeat those as we move on to the future loadouts. Anyways, the next loadout is all about the PKM, surprisingly. I know LMGs might not be everyone's first choice, but the PKM has been, and honestly still is, one of the top LMGs in the game. It's got very low recoil, very high damage, and with that magazine size, going against squads is not going to be a problem. So here I like to use the monolithic suppressor again, the heavy barrel, the GI mini reflex, the snatch grip. This is actually a unique attachment just for the PKM, and it's really super useful. Then finally, the Stippy Grippy. And like I said, this is going to be a powerhouse and just great for knocking out squads even when you're outnumbered. But a wise man once said, swapping to your pistol is always faster than reloading. And it just so happens that the brand new Renetti pistol that came with Season 3 is an all-out beast. Now, this is basically just like the Raffica from MW2 with the setup that we have on it, and truth be told, I really haven't even ranked up the Renetti all that much, but I am using the One Guard variant that's available in the Battle Pass, and this setup by itself is fantastic. You guys can see in the background, this thing is the real deal. It is shredding through everyone, and keep in mind, this is a pistol, and honestly, it's better than some of the primaries that we have in the game. So on the Renetti, I rock the Desperado Pro compensator, at least for the time being. Like I said, this is just the variant setup, and I do think it works just fine. I've also got the MK3 Burst Mod barrel. This is a must-have. It's really what makes the Renetti so lethal. And that's followed by the lightweight trigger, the 27-round mags, and also the XRK Pro Grip to round things out. Now, loadout number 3 is based around my favorite setup in Warzone, actually. This is my absolute go-to at the moment, and that is the combination of the GRA 556 and the HDR Sniper. You guys see gameplay with this setup in a lot of my Warzone videos, and honestly, I do think this is the #1 Warzone class as it stands. So really nothing too out of the ordinary here. I've got the monolithic suppressor, the Nexus barrel, which does actually change the iron sights, no stock, the commando foregrip, and also the 50 round mags, although 60 rounds also work if you are okay with being a little bit slower. And this class is going to utterly dominate. Then on the HDR, I use the monolithic suppressor, the pro barrel, the tac laser to help with the stability, the thermal scope, and also the Stalker Scout stock as well. And really, the HDR, the Renetti, and the RPG are the 3 secondaries you can use on basically any class this season, and they're going to work really well. So in the remaining loadouts, it's really just about what complements those weapons the most. Then the next loadout is one that I've been using more recently, and actually I'm really liking it. That is the combination of the M4A1 and the MP5. Now, typically I'm not using two primaries like this. I would much prefer to use a sniper and an AR, or an SMG and a sniper, but the M4 and the MP5 work really well together if you just want to play extremely aggressive. The M4 is going to have that range as well as the power, and then the MP5 is going to have that speed and agility. So you've essentially got the best of both worlds. Now on the M4, I'm using monolithic, the M16 barrel, the GI mini reflex, the commando foregrip, and also the 60 round mags. Then on the MP5, I've got monolithic yet again, the Merc foregrip, the 45 round mags because 30 rounds just felt a little underwhelming even with the 10mm ammo equipped. Then following that, I've got the Stippy Grippy and also the collapsible stock to increase the speed. And like I said, this is a really consistent duo of weapons for just absolutely slaying out. Then loadout number 5 features the Striker 45, which I know might come as a surprise to a few of you, but honestly it surprised me when I tried it out because the Striker 45 is actually pretty spicy in Warzone. It's got relatively low recoil, decent damage, and also great mobility. So I would say it's complemented nicely by like the HDR for instance, and it's perfect for rushing around. So I'm using the monolithic suppressor, yet again, the stainless steel barrel, the Gen 3 Survivalist series stock, the Merc foregrip, and also the 45 round mags for the final attachment, which altogether make the Striker 45 a really solid SMG for a more aggressive player. Another surprise setup that I found to be really good actually is that of the FAL and also the Renetti. Now, don't get me wrong, the FAL is definitely not my first choice for an AR, but its power can be really effective for a more relaxed playstyle. Plus, when you do have that Renetti as a secondary, you also have some pretty good close range assistance too. So on the FAL, we've got the monolithic suppressor, the marksman barrel, the tac laser for stability once more, the GI mini reflex, and also the grip tape that is stippled for some better mobility. Now, of course, you gotta be accurate with the FAL. If you miss your shots, you are going to pay the price, but when you hit those shots, you are going to feel the spice, if you know what I'm saying. Anyways, next up, loadout number 7 is all about the AUG, and this thing is going to be a powerhouse with the setup that we've got on it. It's going to be great for close and medium range fights, and honestly, you could use any of the secondaries that we've talked about with it, and you'll be good to go. Now, the AUG is technically the strongest SMG because of this setup. Personally, though, I do still prefer the MP7, but regardless, this thing is going to shred. So we've got everybody's favorite suppressor, the extended barrel, the tac laser, the 60 round drums for the 556 ammo to really give it that power, and also the Stippy Grippy as well. Following that up, we have the Odin setup, and when you want to talk about power, good grief, the Odin brings it. This is one of the strongest weapons you can use in the entire game, and while it is somewhat difficult to control, the high risk is certainly worth the reward in my own opinion. So on the Odin, I am rocking the Colossus suppressor. I know, a surprising change of pace, but honestly, this is even better than the monolithic. However, it is only available on the Odin, so it's extra special, I guess you could say. I also have the 730mm barrel, the GI mini reflex, the 30 round mags, and the rubberized grip tape to help with the control even more. Now for loadout number 9, we've got the Ram 7. This was a Season 1 DLC weapon, so it might be a little more rare, but this thing is going to be a beast as well, because it sort of combines speed and power. The RAM is decently strong, right? But it's also got a faster fire rate too, so it's going to melt people when you get into an engagement. So for aggressive players, this is going to work really well. Now here I am using the monolithic suppressor, again, the Ranger barrel, the GI mini reflex, the commando foregrip, and also the 50 round mags to close things out. And I'd say once again, you could really use any secondary with this, and you'll be looking good since this is a bit more versatile. Then, finally, loadout number 10 for today is all about the M13, one of the more underrated weapons in my opinion, and it's another one you could use with basically any secondary. And the M13 is going to really shine in those medium range fights, which makes it a very solid and well-balanced rifle. So, for the final time today, I've got the monolithic suppressor, followed by the Tempest Marksman barrel, the GI mini reflex, the skeleton stock, and the 50 round mags too. And so, with all of that being said, those are the top 10 loadouts for Season 3 of Warzone, and that is going to wrap things up for today. If you guys enjoyed the video, or if you just found it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new here and you want to stay up to date with the latest Call of Duty news, intel, updates, leaks, and everything in between, feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on. That way you'll always know when I upload a new video. As always, if you want to check out any of my partners, be sure to use code IMMORTAL on all Scuff, G Fuel, Control Freak, and Respawn products. All of those links can be found in the description below, and once again, thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.